Welcome to the SBR NHL Ice Guys. It is Tuesday, February the 20th. I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review, joined by Alex B. Smith, Dana Lane, and Andrew McGinnis as we break down the Tuesday card. And Alex B. Smith when he sent me his email today, says, man, this card sucks. And well, kind of agree. It is one of those cards that, hey, it's not the best I've seen, but we'll plow through it as we always do. We'll find still a couple good opportunities. We always do on this Tuesday card. Lots to talk about. And a lot to talk about in our first game on the card today. Montreal taking on Philadelphia, 51-52. Philadelphia minus 165, minus 170, home favorite. Total 5.5, shaded to the over, about minus 120. There's a couple sixes out there. So again, make sure you're using SBRodds.com. There's no reason you shouldn't get a 6 if you like the under. No reason you shouldn't get 5.5 if you like the over. So make sure you're getting on SBRodds.com and checking out which sports books have what for you on a daily basis, not only with NHL, but every sport. And for the Philadelphia Flyers, yeah, Ron Hextall absolutely had to jump on the phones, sees his goaltenders dropping like flies. First Brian Elliott injured, then Michael Neuwirth injured, and he makes the call, makes the deal with the Detroit Red Wings, bringing in Peter Mrazek to the fold in a very not surprising trade, but because I think he was going to look for goaltending help, but it was very quick. Talking about jumping right away. He didn't waste any time. Gets a deal done with the Detroit Red Wings. Peter Mrazek now brought in, and Peter Mrazek maybe in the net tonight for the Philadelphia Flyers. They have not ruled out that he may make his Flyer debut tonight, taking on this Montreal Canadiens team. So obviously Philadelphia sees themselves as a team playing good hockey right now, playoff team. We can't afford to have any large amount of time without maybe both Elliott and Neuwirth. So we got to make a move. Something's got to be done. No disrespect to Alex Lyon, but you can't go forward with him in between the pipes on a regular basis. So it had to be done. Move had to be made, but they got a quality goaltender. Peter Mrazek, I think it's a great move for him because he's toiling around in Detroit. He doesn't know if he's going to be in the net, start in, start out. He's been going back and forth, him and Jimmy Howard, most of the season, most of the last couple of seasons, actually, with the Detroit Red Wings. Now he goes to a team that's, a likely playoff team, right in the mix in the Eastern Conference. That's got to pump up his spirit. It's got to pump up the spirit of the whole team, to be honest with you. I mean, they see this move and they say, hey, you know what? We lost our goaltender here in Neuwirth. We've already got Elliott injured. But, hey, this team, this management, I should say, believes in us. They think we're a good hockey team. They've given us that vote of confidence. And when you go out and get a Peter Mrazek, that's a vote of confidence from your GM saying, hey, I think this team's good, can be a playoff team, maybe do some damage. So I think that boosts the morale of this Flyers team big time, picking up a goaltender the caliber of Peter Mrazek moving forward. And they get to take on this Montreal Canadiens team that I'm so sick and tired of talking about how bad they are. I'm not even going to bother doing it anymore. They lose again the other night, Saturday. Yeah, yeah. With all the Habs fans we know, no disrespect, Andrew, that love to pump their chest when their team is playing well. Why don't I hear a peep from these same guys when they're playing the way they are right now? Not a thing. They can't wait to get out there when they're in the playoffs, when they're making a run to the conference final like they did that one year. But when they're stinking the joint up right now, I don't hear a thing from them, not a peep. That's the way it goes, though, with fan bases like that. When they're playing well, you hear from them. When they're not, you can't find them or can't hear from them for 1 second. But that's the way it goes. Montreal, another loss the other night against Vegas, 6-3, just continuing to pile up the losses on this road trip. Lose to Colorado, lose to Arizona, lose to Vegas, 3 straight. So I don't want Montreal in this game. Philadelphia was looking to back them, but hey, what are we up to now? Minus 170, so it's a little priced out of my range here in this game. But definitely keep an eye on that. There is a decent enough chance we could see Peter Mrazek make his Flyer debut tonight in this game. Dana Lane is in on this Flyers Habs game tonight in Philly, as Mrazek might be in between the pipes. Dana, Montreal, what more can we say about them at this point?
Yeah, no disrespect to you at all, Andrew, but I've gone through years of hell with the Bruins losing to Montreal, so I got to get some of that back. But hey, look, the thing about Mrazek, no matter what happens tonight, is let's not forget, this is a guy that was left in an expansion draft. When you leave a goaltender in an expansion draft, that's basically telling the rest of the hockey world that he's available, and he still stayed with Detroit. And I don't know how far you're going to read into that or not. And I actually like him. I think I know there was a lot of off the ice issues, and I know people have said some things about him, you take those things with a grain of salt when talking about work ethic, or whether or not he's stable between the ears or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, whether Lyon starts tonight or Mrazek starts tonight, if you're going to give me a six, you know how I feel about these sixes, and I certainly want to go under that number. If Alex Lyon starts tonight, guys, this is a time where he should start having. I mean, he should be settled right now. We talk about teams, bringing new guys in, and of course, he was fantastic when he played college hockey at Yale. Not so good with Philadelphia, kind of an average guy. But this is a guy that should be settled right now, even if he gets the start. And let's not also forget, when teams make moves, especially goaltending, not so much in other positions, but goaltending wise, if I'm Alex Lyon and I know Mrazek is up here, and I know that hey, look, now I've gone a little bit further down the rung. Eventually, I'm going to give my best effort. You're going to get if Line starts tonight and Line starts tonight. You're going to get his best effort. So either way, I still like the under in this. Montreal's still struggling on both ends of the ice. I watched them against Vegas. They're absolutely horrible. They really are. And it's not because they don't have good players. They do have good skilled players. The problem is they don't have enough on each line. Each line presents, a guy that can hurt you, but they don't have two or three guys that can hurt you. Or they have guys that have had great years in other places like Druin, but he's virtually non-existent in Montreal, and I don't know how happy he is there. But they have pieces there. The problem is that the pieces are scattered all over their different lines. So to me, guys, I like the under in this, but I'm taking a six, laying $1.25. And Habs have averaged just 2 goals a game in their last 5 games. So there's nothing from a Montreal standpoint that makes me want to play the over. And Philadelphia is just, every time I see them, they seem to get more and more physical. And I think that bodes well for the under tonight.
All right, under 6. Make sure he's got a 6. But if you like 6, there's 6 at 5 dimes at -130 right now, -125 at Pinnacle. So there's 6s out there. If you're on the under with Dana, get that 6. I'm telling you, if it's 4-2, you don't want to be saddled with a loser there. You want the push, so make sure you get the 6 when it's out there at multiple books as it is right now. So that's very, very important. Habs Flyers. Alex Lyon, it's a coach's decision right now is what they're saying right now. We'll see how quickly they can get things straightened out itinerary-wise with Mrazek getting into Philly. But even if not, Lyon might get the nod. Either way, Dana on the under in that game. Habs and Flyers tonight. Next game up, we've got Florida-Toronto, 53-54. We've got Toronto laying a big price, -190. Total 6. Over -130 in this one. So you've got some heavy juice shaded to the over, even a 6.5 at Heritage. In this hockey game, and you can understand why when you think about it. Florida Panthers had a really good solid run on their recent homestand where they were winning games and they were actually playing some really good defensive hockey for a while there. 2 goals or less allowed in a bunch of those games, and it seems like they hit the road and all of a sudden those same defensive mindsets evaporated from this hockey team. This has been an ugly defensive road trip for them so far. Edmonton, Vancouver, Calgary, Winnipeg, they give up 3 goals or more in every one of those games. All 4 of those games flying up and over the total as well. 7-5 win at Edmonton, 4-3 win at Vancouver, 6-3 win at Calgary, 7-2 loss the other night against Winnipeg. Not a pleasant night for the Panthers defense. James Reimer wasn't good either, but that defense hung him out to dry time and time again. Horrible stuff from the Florida Panthers defensively. You're giving up 7 to Winnipeg. Could be some trouble tonight facing this Toronto team the way they're going right now on the offensive end of the ice going into this game. And playing good hockey, this Leaf team. I mean, what's their record? 6-1, their last 7. Only loss was to Pittsburgh, 5-3 on the road. Toronto treated me well over the weekend. I had the over in the game against Pittsburgh. That cashes in. I had Toronto in a nice bounce-back spot, laying a short price on the road against Detroit. And Austin Matthews ends up getting the job done. with a late last-minute goal to give the Leafs a 3-2 win there against the Red Wings. So 2-0 betting Toronto games, but I don't know if I'll be involved in this one. I certainly want the over and make the case for the over, but I don't love the pricing I'm seeing here. We're talking about 6 minus 130. I'm going to need that price to come down a little bit, just a bit. I'm not laying minus 130 on an over 6. I don't care how good it looks on paper. I need that price to come down a little bit. I don't want the under. I want no part of it under in this game, but if I'm going to get involved on the over, I can't have minus 130 on a 6. Minus 15, even minus 110 even money, probably involved. But minus 130 is just a little bit up there. And you still need to get a 4-3, 5-2 type of final to get there. Lean over the total, but like I say, right now I'm going to need a price that's a little bit better than what I'm seeing out there right now at the minus 130. But obviously the Panthers are going to want to come into this game, clean things up defensively. We'll see if they can. Obviously Toronto doesn't make it easy on you in terms of trying to clean up your defensive game. We know how lethal they are. We know how all 4 lines now on that Toronto team are much faster, much more potent than they were since Mike Babcock made those changes. And again, Marner up to the second line, Kapanen in the fourth line in place of the slower foot Matt Martin. It's made all the difference in the world for this Toronto team offensively, and now they're looking like that potent team they were early in the season. Luongo's a go, by the way, in net for the Florida Panthers. They've already confirmed he'll be in. You would expect Freddie Anderson for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And that's another reason why I'm a little gun shy of the over, even though I lean that way. Luongo in a bounce back type of spot. Freddie Anderson's been phenomenal. Both goalies, veteran guys. So again, lean over, but I'm not going minus 130. I need a price that comes down a little bit. Alex B. Smith, Florida, Toronto for you. What you got?
It's an interesting game here because you're looking at both teams with, playing really good as of late. Like the Leafs 11-3 the last 14 games, and then you got Florida playing winning 7 of the last 9. And like I said, it's been a hard road trip defensively for them, but at least on the bright side, they've won 3 of the last 4, and they've been able to get some goals. And they're not shooting, making a ton of shots. They're not doing like Columbus taking 50 shots a night. And they're getting 7 and 6 goals. But like you said, the competition that they're playing against, they're blowing out a Vancouver and a Calgary and Edmonton. Then once they play a good team like Winnipeg, they start struggling and get blown out. So like I said, it's going to be really tough for them to try and shut down Toronto. But Roberto Luongo is starting, and in his career, he's 21-9-3 with a 2.2 goals against, a 9.39 save percentage in his career against Toronto. So he seems to show up against the Leafs throughout his career. So that may be something, like I said, in a bounce back spot, we could see him maybe play, once again, a strong effort against Toronto. So I think there's actually some value with this number with the Florida Panthers tonight, as high as it is. And obviously the Leafs are going to continue to take money because they're winning constantly. So, if we see this number keep going up and up, I might want to look to put a little bit down on Florida tonight.
Yeah, it's a high price. I mean, but Toronto minus 190 in this hockey game, but Toronto's starting to get priced in that, stratosphere where they're up there with the Boston and Tampas and Vegases and teams like that, where, when you get them at home against a middle of the pack team like Florida, you're going to be laying close to $2. And that's the case with teams like Tampa, Vegas at home, now Toronto at home. We're seeing that on a regular basis, and that's probably why the price is where it is. But Florida, you would think they got to show you some kind of spirit after that dispirited loss against the Winnipeg Jets the other night, 7-2. Dana Lane has this game as well on his card, so he's involved in each of the first 2 games on the Tuesday card here, rotation-wise. Dana, Florida, Toronto, what do you got here?
Yeah, Alex is right. I mean, it's exactly what I looked at last night as well, and I'm starting to kind of warm up to Freddie Anderson again. I mean, let's numbers wise, no, he it does not look impressive. But if you figure on the team, you have to figure the teams that they're playing on. I mean, if Freddie Anderson had these numbers and they were playing on the Montreal Canadiens, I wouldn't be excited about it. But when you're playing on a team that is a transition-oriented team like Toronto is, or Pittsburgh, and people always said that about Fleury when they came over. Oh, his numbers weren't so great. Well, yeah, that's because when you're playing on a transition team, you are going to receive more shots, and you are going to have to make more saves. And Freddie Anderson's goals against numbers are not very impressive, but his save percentage certainly is. And I'll take a guy that's over 92% anytime. And as you talked about Luongo getting to start for the Florida Panthers, I mean, yes, you're playing a high-powered offense, but I'd much rather have a veteran goaltender who should be settled in tonight, especially. I'd much rather have a veteran goaltender in there trying to stop a high-powered offense than I would, somebody that's still trying to figure out the position themselves. So from that perspective, I really like the under on this, especially if I'm getting a $1.15. This is the end of a 5-game road trip for the Florida Panthers, so we don't know if fatigue is going to play into them, play into that team, a team that's also used to getting a lot of shots on net. Now, the difference for Florida is their shots are usually not of the quality caliber, so we can anticipate, although they have a high, they average a lot of shots per game, we can anticipate a lot of those shots being perimeter shots. And I think Freddie Anderson's got a great chance tonight to have a great game because of that. So, like Alex said, Luongo's 7-6-1 on the year, save percentage over 92%, which we'll take that as we would with Freddie Anderson. But his record against Toronto over his career has been fantastic, as Alex mentioned. And so, because I feel like I have two solid netminders in an attempt to stop the opposition, you're going to give me plus money and a 6. I will certainly take the under in that.
All right, under 6 for Dana with Florida and Toronto. Moving on, we've got Tampa Bay taking on Washington for our next game on the slate. 55-56 should be a good matchup. Tampa Bay minus 120, it looks like, on the road in this game. The total 5.5, some 6s out there. It's a little bit of both, so make sure you check that out. We had Washington on a big-time over streak, which ended yesterday in their 3-2 win against the Buffalo Sabres. That game stayed under the total. Tampa Bay is on a crazy over streak right now. They've been going over the total game after game after game recently. So makes you think there could be some goals here. We'll see. Washington, what will they do here? I mean, there's no doubt Braden Holtby's, for the first time in a long time, struggling with some confidence right now. There's no question about that. Grubauer was in yesterday, played well. Snapped a little funk for the Washington Capitals, got them back in the win column after just a ridiculously poor performance against the Chicago Blackhawks on Saturday night. They get the win against Buffalo, but hey, you're supposed to beat Buffalo. Let's see now what you do here against Tampa Bay. I'm inclined to look at Tampa here at this price point. I mean, I really am. I mean, I know Washington got the win yesterday, but you're going to give me Tampa Bay anywhere in any rink right now, laying barely more than $1.10. $1.15 to $1.20 right now. It looks like the range we're seeing with the Tampa Bay Lightning in this game. That's enough to get me into the action. Tampa Bay, to me, the better of these teams. This is not like years past where Washington is a elite team in the East. They're a good team. I'm convinced they're not an elite team anymore. I really am. They're good. They're not elite. And I don't expect them to do a whole heck of a lot in the postseason. This could be a first-round exit team, maybe second round. They're going to do what they always do. They're going to Washington Capital everybody like they always do in the postseason. So yeah, I got no problem getting in here with the Tampa Bay Lightning at this short of a price. They're the rested team. Washington had to play yesterday. This is going to be third game in 4 days for Washington. Rest advantage for Tampa. Better hockey team. Reasonable price. Sign me up. Tampa Bay for me in this game. Alex B. Smith, you're involved with the Lightning and Capitals as well. What you got in this game?
Yeah, when I woke up and started seeing some of these early numbers come up, the first thing I thought was like, wow, this is a really good price for Tampa Bay. But then started digging deep into the stats, and this might be a good spot here for Washington because this is a Washington team, like I said, they got completely trounced in Chicago. And then if you talk about, rarely could you say that a puck line play would be a bad beat, but Washington was coasting 3-1 in that game yesterday against Buffalo, and with 1.7 seconds left, Evander Kane scores to make it 3-2. That's just absolutely brutal of a beat if you did lay the goal and a half with the Caps. But now they're on a back-to-back against a Tampa Bay team that they've earned points against in 10 straight games. They're 8-0-2 in the last 10, and both Braden Holtby and Philip Grubauer has posted really good numbers against them. So I'm thinking this might, they picked up Michael Kempny from the Blackhawks, which, I mean, he's not going to be the answer to anything defensively, and he's not going to tighten things up at all, but he's a body to have. And now this is like I said, spot to play against one of the best teams in the league here. I think Washington might be a little more fired up for this game, even though they're coming off a second night at back-to-back. So I'm not going to play Washington, but I'm a little hesitant. Like I said, maybe I'm right on the fence with it, but I think Washington will have a better effort here tonight than even they had yesterday, or certainly more than they did on Saturday against the Hawks.
Yeah, I mean, Washington to me played 2 really good periods yesterday against Buffalo, and then the third period, I don't know, they went to sleep, but Buffalo really took the play to them for most of that third period. And like I say, it's been a rough go for Washington. We're talking about a team that got blown out by Chicago. That's hard to do. That lost to the Detroit Red Wings on home ice. That's hard to do. This team's just not playing good enough right now to warrant them trusting them to beat a team like Tampa. Tampa Bay has shown some warts lately. There's no question. We're not going to pretend that Tampa Bay's playing some fantastic hockey right now. In fact, they've been a lot more erratic and a lot more up and down lately. In fact, they've lost 3 of their last 4. But they're going to, I think, have a good, strong effort here. They've been rested since that 4-3 home loss to Jersey. I think you get a good, solid performance here from Tampa Bay. I know Washington's played this team really tough. That is a concern. I mean, head-to-head wise, Washington's really done a good job against Tampa Bay over the years, but I'm going to look against that. I still think Tampa's the better team, and I can't avoid this price. Very good price on Tampa here if you think they're the better team, which I do. All right, is that it for that game? Looks like it. Yeah. All right, on to the next one. We've got Columbus, New Jersey, 57-58. New Jersey minus 110, even money on both sides against Columbus. The total 5.5 shaded to the over here, minus 120, pretty much across the board here in this game. I got to go with the Devils here. I mean, I don't like what's going on here with Columbus. Injuries are mounting, not playing good hockey, not confident. Nick Foligno now down for a couple of weeks. Their captain, their leader on the ice, injured and out for the next couple of weeks. Not much going on in terms of the good side of the ledger right now for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And really, it's what I feel about these teams, especially in the money line sports, hockey and baseball. Teams that are red hot, I like to ride teams like that. Teams that are cold, not playing well, like to fade those teams, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. In this hockey game, I've got no problem going out there and taking New Jersey here. Even money at home, they've had a pretty good home record for the most part this season. The Devils, again, they're a little bit more confident. And, you got to give even a guy like Keith Kincaid credit. I mean, he's played a little bit better now the last couple games. The win against Carolina, he played some good hockey. You beat going into Tampa and beat the Lightning. That's definitely a good sign. So getting some more stabilized goaltending as well as of late. This Devils team from Keith Kincaid in between the pipes as they still await the return of Corey Schneider in between the pipes. We'll see how quickly he's able to come back. But yeah, I mean, Columbus right now, they're finding ways to lose games, not win them. We're not seeing Sergei Bobrovsky make that big save that he's made in the past. He's looked ordinary at times in between the pipes. He did again on Sunday against Pittsburgh. That was a tough spot for Pittsburgh too. And Columbus loses that game at home. That's the even more frustrating part if you're a Jackets fan. That was a great, if you're into these spot plays and these scheduling setups, that was a great spot for Columbus. Pittsburgh's off that Hockey Night in Canada game against Toronto. Everybody gets pumped up for Hockey Night in Canada, even when you're an American team, because you got a lot of Canadians there. You're playing Toronto, a team that Pittsburgh has got their eye on, saying, hey, we know this could be a force in the East. We had a point to prove, 5-3 win, took care of business there. And then you come back the next day, maybe you're a little bit flat after that kind of win, and Columbus didn't take advantage. Columbus was the flat team. They didn't come out ready. Very bad, tough loss for Columbus. Not good the way they started that game, and obviously it cost them. They were down 2-0 early, and they never, ever recovered. Pittsburgh beats them in Columbus on a back-to-back situation as well. So Jackets right now not playing sturdy in their own zone. Not getting the save when they need it. Offensively, they've taken a little bit of a hit, particularly now Foligno out, captain. That's got to shake things up a little bit in a negative sense. So New Jersey at minus 110 at even money with a team that's, at least stringing together multiple good games in a row and playing better hockey overall. Couldn't resist that. So I'll be on the Devils there, minus 110 as they take on Columbus tonight. In that game, we've got Nashville, Detroit, 59-60 on the rotation here. Nashville, minus 115 on the road. Total 5.5 shaded to the under. Nashville Predators, a short turnaround revenge situation, believe it or not, because they played Detroit Saturday night in Music City, and Detroit with the 3-1 victory in Nashville. That was one of the more looking at that score Saturday night. I'm like, that really happened. Detroit went into Nashville and beat them. Wow, pretty impressive stuff. But Nashville got back in the win column last night. Emphatic win against Ottawa, 5-2 in that hockey game. Definitely a situation where the Predators, if you're going to expect them to have a strong effort in a bounce back spot off the home loss to Detroit, you certainly saw that last night, taking care of business against the woe-begotten Ottawa Senators 5-2 on home ice. Good bounce back win for Nashville. Now can they do it again? Second night of back-to-back here against Detroit. Of course, Detroit now knows that it'll be Jimmy Howard for the most part the rest of the way after they trade away Peter Mrazek to the Philadelphia Flyers in that deal yesterday. So back-to-back situation here for Nashville. Also their third game in 4 days, because they played Saturday against this Detroit team and again last night. Nashville's actually fared okay in terms of back-to-back situations. They're 4-2, Nashville, second night of back-to-back games this season. I'm going back and forth on this game. From a side perspective, it's Nashville or nothing for me. I think, the fact they just lost to Detroit on Saturday night gets them focused for this game. And again, their second night of back-to-back record isn't terrible by any stretch of the imagination. The one issue I've got, though, is that, believe it or not, they've had a real tough time against the Detroit Red Wings. They're 0-7 the last head-to-head against Detroit. Detroit has owned this series, believe it or not. It's the most peculiar thing. Nashville's had good teams as well in recent years, and Detroit's still been able to beat them. I mean, it's really a funny thing, including, of course, the game this past Saturday. But I may be willing to buck the series history here just for this one game. I think, Detroit, who knows where their collective heads are at now. This point, they lost 3-2 their last game against Toronto. A last-minute Austin Matthews goal to get beaten in that one. Detroit's effort, give them credit. Jeff Blashill has this team's effort level pretty good most nights. They're competitive in most games. 3-2 loss to Toronto, nothing to write home about. They'd actually won 3 of their last 5 games. But I think Detroit is going to have the attention of Nashville tonight. After Nashville loses to them on home ice on Saturday. So I'm going to probably go ahead with Nashville. It's not my strongest play on the card by any stretch, but, minus 115 with Nashville on the road is not a terrible price whatsoever. I think they can, even on a back-to-back here, get the job done against the Detroit Red Wings. We've got Andrew McGinnis also involved. This is his first game on the slate. He wants to discuss Nashville taking on Detroit. Andrew, what do you got for us here?
Yeah, Ian, well, excuse me, just to kind of echo what you said, I mean, like you mentioned, it's plain and simple. They haven't really had the best luck in Detroit. And a lot of the points that you made were kind of stuff that I was going to say. And one of the really big things that I have to say about the Nashville Predators is that it doesn't really bother me that they're on this back-to-back spot right now. It doesn't really bother me that they're playing so many games in so many days right now. They're 5-1 in their last 6 in the third game of a 3-4 situation. So it's kind of an interesting stat, kind of a random stat, but it's pretty interesting, and if it's working for them, it's fine with me. And the Preds are also 4-1 in their last 5 games, playing on 0 days rest. So for me, this team right now, looking at yesterday's game against Ottawa, guys, the fact is, I understand it is the Ottawa Senators. It's not the biggest win to get all excited about. It's not anything to be too proud of. But when you look at this team and the way that they win games, I think they can win close games. They can win those OT games. They've come back from being down 3-0, recently. They know how to win tight games. But yesterday was one of those games that I can tell you guys, it just looked easy for them. It looked almost too easy and too basic. They were stomping all over this Ottawa Senators team. Looked like they were playing against an OHL team out there, because it was almost like this team is just way too stacked. I just think that every single night it's a new man, it's a new stack, it's next man up mentality with this Predators team, which is why I think they have such potential to go deep. I think right now that they have such a talent level, and that the Predators are finally healthy, that it's just about kind of putting the pieces together. It's up to the coaching staff to really kind of piece this and strengthen this team together, because they have the talent, and I think they have what it takes to go far. And like you said, against this Detroit team right now, coming off, it sort of is a revenge spot. And like I said, that Ottawa game last night, I doubt they're tired. I doubt that was even that tiring of a game for them. I think that they made that look easy, and they're looking towards Detroit right now. Everyone's kind of looking back in full form. This top line of Forsberg, Johansson, and Victor Arvidsson is looking top notch right now. Arvidsson had a great game yesterday. So did Roman Josi and Ryan Ellis. And I just think that right now this Howard and Rene matchup is too good to be true. The price that we're getting on this Nashville team is too good to be true right now. And I think it's just plain and simple. I mean, you look at these two teams, the price that we're getting, I don't care what the history is between these two teams, to be quite honest with you. Obviously, history does speak. Nashville's 1-5 straight up in the last 6 games and playing on the road against Detroit. 0-5 in the last 5 games in general against Detroit. So I think they can really snap out of that streak right now. The history between these two teams, it has been the over as far as the total goes, but I just think that Nashville will come in here and take care of business. I expect a big night from Rene, and hopefully the Predators can pounce all over Jimmy Howard.
All right, Nashville. So Andrew and I both likely, I am going to be actually on the Nashville side as well. It's a good situation. And we have to keep in mind too, all these regular season wins Detroit's had against Nashville. When's the last time Nashville's had a great regular season the way they are this year? It's been like they've had up and down regular seasons. Even last year, this team was in the regular season was average. They were okay. And it was in the playoffs they got hot. They got on a roll and went all the way to the final. This is the first year really in a long time where Nashville is right near the top of the Western Conference in terms of the standings. So this year is finally a year where they're playing really good in the regular season. So Detroit's beaten all these wins for Detroit against Nashville head to head are taking place when Nashville's having these, so-so regular season performances. This year, that's not the case. They've been terrific all season long. Nashville, very consistent, right up there near the top of the Western Conference. It could be them, could be Vegas. You never count out a Winnipeg or St. Louis in terms of teams that could win the West here at this point in time. But they're right there, and it's because they've been very consistent. They've avoided extended, long losing streaks throughout the course of the regular season. And again, they're as deep at center ice as you can ask for it. Kyle Turris missed a couple games. He came back. Look at that center ice. It is absolutely loaded and stacked. Depth down the middle means a lot to me, especially come playoff time. Johansson, Turris, and Bonino give that Nashville team a triple threat at the center ice position. Guys that can win faceoffs, get the puck back for their team. Just all those little things that are going to go a long way in the playoffs. That's why Nashville's going to be dangerous again come postseason time. So Nashville at the minus 115 price here in this game tonight for both Andrew and me.
And they only had one goal last game, too. They only had one goal in the last meeting against Detroit. I mean, that's not going to happen again. I mean, we can't see the future here, but with the talent that they really have, I mean, you just mentioned it, Ian. Up the middle, they're so strong, they're so talented, and they have such quality defensemen that can play defensive, but also jump up in the rush. I just can't see this being a 3-1 type style game against them. It's just the average goals per the season just don't match up like that, and I just think that they're way better of a team than Detroit. With just the odds that we're getting, I would take a look at Nashville, honestly.
Yeah, and the one thing that's actually been pretty good, especially most of the season, but especially lately, there's been a lot of these games where Detroit is playing at home. They're taking on a Class A team, and Class A team is laying in this minus 115, 20, 25 range on the road. We saw it with Toronto on Sunday night. The Class A team has gotten the job done a lot of these times. So that's what kind of this game sort of fits into, that kind of price range, that kind of situation. Class A team on the road against Detroit. Class A team's gotten the job done a lot in this kind of price range and this situation. So, yeah, that's where Nashville fits for me in this game as well. We got LA Winnipeg 61-62. Winnipeg minus 175, home favorite. The total 5.5 here, shaded to the under in this game. Well, guess what? I'm kicking myself. I wanted to bet the LA Kings last night. I said, okay, Chicago beats Washington 7-1. Snaps a losing streak. Usually when that happens, a long losing streak gets snapped. I say, okay, I'll stand back now. Let's see if that gets Chicago some confidence, a little bit of a spark, gets them maybe going on the right track again. And they're down 2-0 after the first period. And they get outshot, 14-3 in the first 20 minutes of that game. So much for that crap. But yeah, I'm mad because I talked myself out of LA and I shouldn't have. I thought maybe Chicago gets a little boost from the Washington win. Did not happen. Whatsoever. Right back in the old tankaroo again for the Chicago Blackhawks last night. But LA, give them credit. Nice win for them. 3-1 in Chicago last night against the Blackhawks. Again, been going against the Blackhawks hand over fist. Did not do it last night. But LA, good win for them. Now it's a tough spot, though, for LA. Give them credit. But now this road trip, it's been a long one. It's been a grueling one. It's been a taxing one. Lots of travel. Now you're going to Winnipeg. Second night of back-to-back on the road. This is going to be a tough, tall task, tall order. Tough ask here for the LA Kings tonight in Winnipeg. The Jets, just playing so they finally shook off those little, I don't know what it was, kinks. You bring in a Mark Scheifele back, everyone relaxes a little bit. Nobody really plays up to their level. They play down a little bit because, hey, we got Mark Scheifele back. Everything's going to be fine again. Well, if they shook that off, they had a couple tough bad losses even when Mark Scheifele first came back. The Rangers loss at home stands out, but they've shaken that off. Winnipeg now put a couple of nice wins together on the road, at home, I should say, over the weekend. Blowout wins against Colorado and Florida. Very impressive stuff from the Winnipeg Jets. Their offense looks dynamite again, scoring goals left and right. Scheifele looks like he's back in rhythm, back in form. He's had a big weekend offensively for the Winnipeg Jets. What can you say about Winnipeg? They've been fantastic. Paul Maurice not getting enough talk right now in the chat. A situation where he's done a great job coaching this team, and I think it's got to be some kind of situation where Winnipeg, I think, has a chance to probably keep on this great run they've gone on tonight, because LA, in this kind of situation, I think it's going to be a little bit difficult for them to have a very, very solid effort, strong performance tonight against this Jets team. Give LA credit. They've had a decent road trip to this point. They beat Buffalo. They beat Chicago. Buffalo and Chicago, though, aren't Winnipeg right now. There's a big difference between these two teams. So we got a situation right now where, to me, this is a very, very difficult travel spot, scheduling spot, whatever you want to call it for LA. I could only back Winnipeg here, but if I do it, I'd have to do it on the puck line. That would actually be my lean. I think the Kings are walking into a tough situation here tonight. So the lean would be to the Jets puck line. Maybe have a small play on that later in the day. Follow me on Twitter, by the way, at Bobano. Any play of mine that does not go out to clients is always on Twitter. It's all my other plays that didn't make the client card cut. They're there, posted daily on Twitter. I got to throw that out there every single day. So very important. You check me out there on Twitter. Follow me there for all of those. But definitely leaning toward the Jets here on the puck line. I think this is one of Alex's games here. Yes, it is. Kings and Jets. Alex, what do you see taking place here in this game?
Yeah, I'm always big on following scheduling spots for the most part. It hasn't really worked out to the best this year in some spots, but right here, like I said, looking at where LA, the bounce around in the different time zones, being a Pacific team, going East Coast and now Central, and then back to backs, it's just a lot to ask for any team, especially a team that just doesn't do well on the road against a team like the Winnipeg Jets, who are absolutely dominant at home, 13-2-1 at home against the Western Conference, 23-5-2 overall at home this year. So the only way I'm looking at here would be Jets on the puck line. Their team, they got their offense rolling. Granted, 7 goals against Florida. Sure, that a lot of teams can put up probably 7 goals against Florida on any given night, but I think that the Jets here, I think they have a ton of talent here, and I think they should be able to take care of what we're going to see from I think a tired LA team.
Yeah, I mean, no matter which way you look at it, when you've got a Pacific, team that plays the number of games they have so far in the East. Then you go to Chicago last night, and you have a double back-to-back on the road in Winnipeg. Same time zone, at least no time zone change here. Still the central time zone in Winnipeg, but it's not very pleasant travel situation by any stretch here for the LA Kings going into this game tonight. So yeah, they're going to be up against it a little bit. We'll see where the Blackhawks go the Kings go with their goaltending going into this game. I got Blackhawks on the brain, but we could see a Kemper sighting here tonight. You did see Quick last night against Chicago. Will they rest him? This might be one of those wave the white flag games for John Stevens and this LA Kings team. It just might be. I mean, he knows they could be up against it here from a scheduling perspective. You shouldn't really say that when you're a team battling for the playoffs. There shouldn't be any such thing as a wave the white flag game, but it's a real arduous spot and scheduling situation here for the Kings tonight. San Jose, St. Louis. Next game up, we've got 63-64 on the rotation with this one. St. Louis minus 160 home favorites. The total here 5. Is that right? Yes, that is. That is a 5. I'm not seeing things here. 5 over minus 130. There is 5.5 out there at Heritage Sports. So boy, you got to almost do a double take when you see 5s with any NHL game right now. But we do see it here with these two teams, and we are talking about two teams that defensively, two of the better ones in the NHL. San Jose's been one of the stronger under teams this season in the league. We know St. Louis is oftentimes, when they're playing at their best, their games are those 2-1. 3-1, 4-1 type of games, and that's basically probably a big reason why we're seeing this total where it is tonight between the Sharks and the Blues. And then you've got some recent series history that indicates to the under. I mean, at least since the start of last season, 3-2, 4-0, 4-1 the scores in the games between the two teams, so they've played out that way to be a little bit lower scoring. St. Louis was going through a stretch there where they were really putting up some big goals. Scored 6 against Colorado, scored 5 against Winnipeg. A little more reasonable the last couple of games. St. Louis, they've scored 5 goals their last 3 games combined. A little bit more like a downturn a bit offensively. On the other side, you got San Jose coming off back-to-back home wins against Vancouver and Dallas, 4-1, 5-2 victories for them. Now they go on the road, where actually they've played a little bit better lately on the road. San Jose early in the season didn't have a great road record by any stretch. It's still not a great road record on the season, but they have played a little bit better on the road going into this game. But for St. Louis, off 3 straight losses, although tough opposition. Pittsburgh, they lose at home 4-1, and Pittsburgh's just on fire right now. They're blazing hot how good they're playing. Nashville, 4-3 overtime loss. That's the game they lost. They had a 3-0 lead going into the third period. Nashville comes back and beats them. And then the road loss at Dallas, 2-1 the other night, and they outshot Dallas 29-16. So very tough luck loss for the Blues in that game. They deserved a better fate against the Dallas Stars. You hold a team to 16 shots, especially a team like Dallas, and you don't win that hockey game. That's tough. And that's unfortunately what happened to St. Louis in their last game on Saturday night. I think the Blues do get back on the right foot here, but I'm not really in love with laying -160. And when it comes to the St. Louis Blues, they're not exactly a team I rush to bet the puck line on either. So not a game I'm going to get involved with. Maybe you lean Blues. Maybe if you like St. Louis and you don't like -160, and this is an option, and I haven't mentioned it enough on the show, but I should, take the regulation line. Take the shot that they can win the game in 60 minutes, get a better price than -160, and then roll the dice that way. See if they can win it in the regular 60-minute time frame and get a better price for it if it avoids overtime. So that is definitely an option for you if you like St. Louis. Boston, Edmonton, 65-66 on the rotation here. Boston -135, road favorites here. The total 6 across the board. Boston, this is another team that's in a little bit of a tricky scheduling spot here. Third road game in 4 days. Vancouver Saturday, Calgary yesterday. That was a great hockey game. I mean, that was a really good hockey game yesterday. Boston, Calgary was an afternoon game. Got to see it. Great goaltending on both sides. Give David Riddick credit. That was his best game I've seen since he's been the starting goalie in place of Mike Smith due to that injury that Smith's got. He was good. Rask, man, did Rask bail out Boston in that overtime? I mean, Calgary could have ended that game a couple of different times. Tuukka Rask makes at least three big saves in overtime to keep that game going. And what do you know? The very first chance Boston gets after that trifecta of Tuukka Rask saves is a Brad Marchand breakaway. And, of course, he puts it away. And it always goes that way. Teams just dominating the other team, peppering the goalie with shots. Then the other team comes back down the ice, one chance, bing, bang, boom, in the net, and game over. And that was Boston with the 2-1 win in overtime yesterday against Calgary. What is it with Calgary and not being able to win at home? I mean, we've talked about it all season long. I mean, this Calgary team on home ice, we want no part of them. I've talked about it before. When I bet Calgary, it's not at home I want to bet on them. And you can see why. They just have not been able to find ways to play 60 strong minutes and find ways to win games, get the big goal, get the big save, whatever the case may be at home. And happened again yesterday against the Boston Bruins. Boston in a back-to-back spot. We'll see if Tuukka Rask had to be really good late in that game. Does he go again today? I doubt it. I think you'll probably see Anton Khudobin between the pipes for the Bruins tonight against this Edmonton team. Edmonton, give him credit. Cam Talbot had that huge meltdown or rant, whatever you want to call it, after the Arizona loss on Saturday, saying they got screwed over by the referees, the replay system, that we don't ever win a challenge. I mean, I think that's stretching it a little bit if you're Cam Talbot, but he was basically saying we never ever win a coach's challenge, talking about the Edmonton Oilers. So the team sort of did have a better response. They've actually played quite well against Colorado and ended Colorado's 10-game home winning streak. Colorado had a 10-game winning streak on home ice, snapped by the Edmonton Oilers on Sundays. So on a back-to-back spot on the road, playing in altitude for Edmonton to play as well as they did, shows this team still has a pulse when they want. The question is, are they going to have a pulse tonight? And that's basically what you're handicapping now on a daily basis with this Edmonton team. Do they have a pulse? are they going to show up on a nightly basis? And when you're getting to that stage of the season with a team like Edmonton, where you don't know which team's going to show up night to night, it's a tough team to handicap, and that's probably a big reason why I'm staying out of this game. It's not a great spot by any stretch for Boston, but I don't trust Edmonton one iota to beat a quality team for a second straight game. So for me, it's a game I'm going to be staying away from, but interesting to see what we get from Edmonton here, because they did finally put together one of their better games in some time against Colorado, and really dominated Colorado shots on goal wise and territorially, possession of the puck, all of those things. Oilers had the advantage there against Colorado. Can they bring that same kind of effort here tonight against the Boston Bruins is going to be the question, because they're going to need it, even with Boston on a back-to-back. Other than a really odd, bizarre clunker against Vancouver, and every team's going to have one of those games where you just don't have it. You just do not have it, whatever the case is. You just don't have it that night. Boston had that game against Vancouver, but were able to bounce back from it last night against Calgary. Colorado, Vancouver, speaking of Vancouver, to wrap up the card, last game on the slate, Colorado, Vancouver, 67-68. Vancouver minus 115 to minus 120. Wrote a home favorite here. The total 6 shaded to the under, minus 120. You would think with Nathan MacKinnon coming back, as he did for Colorado Sunday against Edmonton, you'd get a little more fire and brimstone out of that Colorado team, and you didn't really see it. I mean, Edmonton dominated, as I just said, territorially, shots on goal, possession. Could have been worse for Colorado if not for Varlamov, who was very good in net against the Oilers. We'll see if Colorado's got a little something better to bring to the table here tonight, taking on this Vancouver Canucks team. Again, Vancouver, I don't mind taking a shot with Vancouver, when they're an underdog. Yeah, minus 120 with Vancouver at home, where their record's been meandering at best. That's not something I'm interested in. So for me, it's Colorado or nothing in this game. I think we got a couple guys involved in this game. Yes, Dana's involved in the Avs Canucks. Andrew's involved in the Avs Canucks. Let's go to Andrew first. Avs Canucks for you, Andrew. What are you looking at in this game tonight?
Yeah, guys. Well, looking at the season average goals per team right now, Colorado averaging 3.09 goals per game. Meanwhile, Vancouver just 2.66. But interesting to note, the last 3 games head-to-head between these two teams, it's actually been all Vancouver. Vancouver averaging 3.33 goals per game, Colorado 2.33. And I just think that between these two teams right now, guys, a lot of the evidence, I could list as many stats as I want right now. There's a lot of stuff I could say, but the fact is, there's a lot of evidence that could back the over right now in this series. There's a lot of evidence that could say that these two teams have the energy. Nathan MacKinnon is back. They're two of those teams that can just kind of be rambunctious and put up high amounts of goals, and the defense could really lack. But this is one of those things for me where I see the 6th spot, and I'm going to use a phrase that Dana likes to use, where I don't want to feel like I'm losing for most of the game with this under. If I took the over in this game, I'm really comfortable taking the under in this game at the 6th spot. I think this Colorado versus Vancouver matchup is one of those matchups, guys, where both these two teams have to learn how to be better defensively. They have to learn how to take better care of the puck, and they kind of have to get themselves involved more in these closer type games. I mean, if you look at Colorado's last 2 games here, 4-2 loss to Edmonton and a 6-1 loss to Winnipeg. I mean, 4-2 is not too bad, but I mean, they're almost prone to these high scoring games. And even Vancouver, when they put up a lot of goals, the only reason they're having to do that is because they're very easily getting scored on. So for me, I'm easily looking at the under in this one. I just think at the 6, guys, with the way that these two teams have been playing, 5 of the last 7 games between these two teams have gone over. But I just think that both these guys need to step it up a little bit and play a little bit better defensively. And I think that's going to be, as the season progresses for these two teams, coaches will be working on that, because the way that hockey is changing, guys, the ratings are going up because, let's face it, there's more goals. It's getting a little bit more exciting. The players are getting a little more flashy again. But sometimes you got to kind of buckle down. You got to stay at home hockey and learn how to play defensively. And I think, if we look at Vancouver and Colorado, we look at this matchup, we think both these two teams shouldn't have a tough time scoring. But in my eyes, it's going to be a lot of neutral ice time, and it should go under the total. So I'm making that an official play here on the ice, guys, under 6.
Yeah, it was one of those nights for Vancouver when they beat Boston in their last game 6-1. It was just one of those nights where half the stuff they shot at the net was going to end up going in the net. Right from the very first goal, which I think bounced in off a couple of players and into the net. And that was that's when you could tell right away that when Vancouver got that early 1-0 lead. This may not be Boston's night. This could be one of those nights where Vancouver just gets the puck luck, gets lots of crazy shit to go their way, And that's exactly what happened. 23 shots is all Vancouver had against Boston, yet they put 6 goals in that victory against the Bruins. So, again, Vancouver, good win for them, but still. And that's another thing that I don't like about Vancouver. Asking them to win 2 in a row is not something I love doing. They beat Chicago, they lose to Tampa. They beat Dallas 6-0, they come home and they lose to Florida 4-3. So this is a team that all season long has had trouble going on extended winning streaks. So off a win statistic for the Vancouver Canucks, not great. Let's put it that way. It's not actually been all that good for the Vancouver Canucks, and I kind of lean Colorado here, but we'll see if maybe I can squeeze a better price out of this. Dana Lane also has the Avs Canucks. Dana, what do you got here in this game?
Yeah, I mean, if you take away the final score in a Bruins game, I mean, you would have thought the Bruins absolutely killed them, and that's why you can't just go by shots. I know it's a stat that I bring up a lot, but behind that is also, hey, I've looked at these shot charts, which you can find on various websites, and say, okay, well, yeah, you had a lot of shots on net. Yes, they were quality shots on net. So regardless of the final score, I feel good about whether that team lost or won that game. I feel good about them moving forward. And like you said, Ian, this is just a Vancouver team. They can't put any wins together. We see here in the last 10 games, of those 10 games, only 3 times have they allowed 2 goals or less. In fact, they beat Chicago 4-2, a good defensive effort. Then they come back and give up 4 to Tampa Bay. Well, no harm, no foul there for sure. But then they go to Dallas. They shut out Dallas 6-0. We're thinking, wow, that's pretty impressive. Next game they drop 4-3 to Florida. They look a lot less impressive. Now we're in that same situation where they just got through beating the Bruins, and they're getting a pretty decent price on the heels of that. And of course, Boston. I mean, Boston had that win against Calgary, and I think, probably the lines makers think that, hey, look, Boston's never really fared well in Canada, and so we're going to give, I'm sorry, forget that. Okay, so anyway, so they beat Boston 6-1, and now I think that they kind of are giving Vancouver a lot more credit than they possibly deserve. This is also a team right now where Jim Benning has come out and said, "Hey, look, we are definitely looking to make some moves." And when you're looking to make some moves, especially when you say that you need to get a little bit tougher, I think that serves notice to a lot of the players. Well, if you're not a team that you got 2 types of teams. You got the teams that get served notice and then they start playing well because they either don't want to leave or know that the spot or do want to leave and the spotlight's on them, or you get the teams that just are not capable of upping their game and kind of go backwards. And I kind of think Vancouver's the backwards team right now, and they're talking about Goodbranson being a possible trade bait guy. This is also if you go back, this is also a revenge spot for Colorado as well. So yeah, if you want to give me a plus price against Vancouver, and like you said, I think we can get a little bit better price if we kind of shop around, but I can't imagine too much Vancouver money is going to come in late. But I definitely like Colorado in this spot, and like you said with Nathan McKinnon, he should be nice and comfortable right now, settling in on that first line.
All right, Colorado for Dana Lane with the Avalanche and the Canucks, and I lean that way. Colorado to me on the road's been very frustrating. The times I don't think I've won a Colorado bet backing them on the road. I've won a bunch of Colorado bets, and I swear they've all come at home with this team. I don't know if I've won a single Colorado game betting on the Avalanche on the road, and you can see why. They're 11-18 on the road. They're one of the sharpest home road split teams in the NHL this season. But I can't get over the fact Vancouver minus 120. Sorry, that's not a price I like Vancouver at one bit. So for me, I've still got to find a way probably to get in pocket to some kind of bet here tonight on Colorado, which won't be best bet. And speaking of best bets, it's time for best bets to wrap up the Tuesday show. We got a hell of an encore that we need to try to keep up with after a 4-0 sweep on Saturday. See if we can deliver something similar tonight. Let's go to Andrew first. Your best bet for this Tuesday card.
I see everyone in this chat, guys, saying this is going to be a trap game, but I don't think so whatsoever. I'm rolling with the Nashville Predators. I think their depth is going to help them a lot tonight. I think we saw how easily they stumbled over the Ottawa Senators last night, and I think it's going to continue. So Nashville Predators, money line for me.
All right, Nashville for Andrew. Dana Lane, your best bet.
Montreal, Philadelphia under. As soon as I woke up and saw that 6 this morning, I'm absolutely all over that. This is a Montreal team that could give you 1 or 2 goals, and I'm certainly not relying on Philadelphia to push me over the other 4 or 5. So I like Montreal, Philadelphia under minus $1.25.
All right, Habs Flyers under 6. Dana Lane's best bet. Alex B. Smith, yours best bet for Tuesday.
Going with a big dog here, going with the Florida Panthers at plus 160. Looking back, they've had 2 trips with 4 or more games on the road, and the end of those trips, 3-2 win against Arizona and a 7-4 win against St. Louis. I think they try to wrap up this road trip on a high note. I'm going to go with the Panthers here in the upset tonight.
All right, Florida Panthers as a big dog here for Alex B. Smith on the card tonight. I'm going to just ride the hot, fade the cold for my best bet. Let's take New Jersey, minus 110 against this Columbus team. Columbus not in a good shape right now, just lost the captain. New Jersey is finding ways to win right now. New Jersey, minus 110 for me, best bet for the Tuesday card. And that's going to wrap it up. Another great show. Thanks to everyone for tuning in, really. I mean, the viewership today is sensational. 115, 20 viewers in that range. We really do appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching the Ice Guys. We've got right side of campus, Donnie and the big man. Coming up next, for Andrew, for Alex, and for Dana, I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review. Enjoy the Tuesday night hockey card, and we'll see you again on Thursday.